This is the entire history of Las Vegas. So let's watch it.
Planet when you look down from outer space. It is a neon jungle, a place where people lose $1 million in a heartbeat, and where you can see a giant glass
Comment down
pyramid,
below
the
what
Eiffel Tower,
snack you're
and a
eating
Roman
right
palace
now.
all on the same street. It's a city that shouldn't
I know
exist,
you
built
eat
in a
some
place where
cereal.
nothing is
You
supposed
eating
to
that
grow.
Cocoa
How did
Pebbles
this
or
happen? How did a patch of dry, dusty dirt
Frosted
become the
Flakes?
entertainment capital of the world? It wasn't an accident, and
Raisin
it didn't happen
Bran.
overnight. It was a combination of desperate workers, dangerous gangsters, weird atomic bombs, and the biggest gambling move in human history. To understand Vegas, we have to go back to a time before the lights. In the early 1800s, this area was a total mystery to most of the world. It was a place people tried to avoid because it was so dry. But in 1829, a young Mexican scout named Rafael Rivera was on a mission. He was
Hey,
looking for a shortcut to
Raphael.
Los Angeles for a group of traders. He wandered away from his group and stumbled into a hidden valley. Inside this valley, he found something that seemed like a miracle: water. Underground springs were bubbling up to the surface, creating a beautiful patch of tall green grass in the middle of the brown,
Water.
dead desert.
Like,
He named the area Las Vegas, which is Spanish for the meadows. For the next 70 years, Las Vegas was just a tiny,
so
quiet oasis.
you mean to tell me I'm going to the Meadows? Hey, we're going to, I'm saying that from now on. We're going to the Meadows.
It was a
Fuck
place
Las
where travelers would
Vegas.
stop to give their horses a
I'm
drink
saying
and
the
rest for a night
Meadows.
before heading back into the burning sun. In the 1850s, a group of Mormon settlers tried to build a fort there to protect the trail, but the desert was too harsh. They gave up and left. For a long time,
Damn.
it seemed like Las Vegas was destined to be nothing more than a footnote in a history book. It was just a rest stop in a giant, empty sandbox. But then came the machines. In 1905, a major railroad company was building a track to connect Salt Lake City to Los Angeles. They needed a place where their big steam engines could stop, cool down, and refill their massive water tanks. They remembered that little patch of green grass in Nevada. On May 15, 1905, the railroad company held a giant auction. They stood in the dirt and sold off 110 acres of land to anyone with a few $100s. This was the official birth of the city. But don't imagine luxury. This early version of Vegas was a rough, Wild West town. It was full of mud, dust, and tiny wooden buildings. The main street was called Fremont Street, and it was packed with saloons where railroad workers went to drink and play cards. It was a tough place for tough people, and it was mostly ignored by the rest of the world. Then, in 1929, the world changed. The Great Depression hit, and the American economy collapsed. Millions of people lost their homes, their jobs, and their hope. But right when things looked the darkest, Las Vegas got incredibly lucky. The US government decided to build the Hoover Dam just 30 miles away. It was one of the biggest construction projects in the history of the world. Thousands of men from all over the country flocked to the desert, desperate for any kind of work. Suddenly, the quiet town of Las Vegas was flooded with thousands of young men who had jobs and cash in their pockets. These men were working in the heat all day, and when the weekend came, they wanted to let off some steam. The leaders of Nevada realized they were sitting on a gold mine. In 1931, they did something that made the rest of the country think they were crazy. They made gambling completely legal. They also made it very easy to get a divorce. At that time, in most of America, getting a divorce was almost impossible and took years. In Vegas, you could get one in just 6 weeks. This turned the city into a magnet for sin. People started calling it Sin City. Damn.
Hey, you want to get married? Yeah. Hey, you want to get divorced? Yeah. See ya. Damn.
Workers came for the gambling, and wealthy people from Hollywood started
Sin
driving out to
City.
get quickie divorces so
That's
they could
where
marry
Sin
someone
City's
else.
from?
The city was growing fast, but it still didn't have that Vegas style. The casinos were small and looked like old Western bars. That was all about to change because of the mob. After World War II ended, a man named Bugsy Siegel arrived. Bugsy was a high-ranking gangster from New York who was looking for a way to make the mob's money look legit.
So he came from New York. So during that time in New York that Vegas was there, who did he hear it from? I gotta figure that part out. Let's just keep going.
He didn't want a dusty cowboy town. He wanted Hollywood glamour in the middle of the desert. He took over a project called the Flamingo. He spent millions of dollars, mostly money he borrowed from his gangster friends, to build a hotel that looked like paradise. It had a massive pool, air conditioning, and a giant neon pink sign that could be seen from miles. The Flamingo opened on a rainy night in 1946, and at first it was a total failure. The rooms weren't finished, the famous guests didn't show up, and it lost a lot of money. Bugsy's partners in the mob were furious. They didn't like losing money. A few months later, Bugsy was shot dead in his home. But even though Bugsy was gone, his vision had worked. People loved the idea of luxury in the desert. The mob realized that owning a casino was the perfect way to wash their illegal money from other crimes. Over the next 10 years, more and more hotels started popping up on a stretch of road just outside the city limits. This road became known as the Strip. The Sahara, the Sands, the Riviera, all of these famous names were built with money from organized crime.
Okay. That's the Strip, huh? They just start making shit wherever they want to just make it.
The 1950s were perhaps the weirdest decade in the city's history. During this time, Las Vegas became known as the Atomic City. The US government was testing nuclear bombs at a site just 65 miles away. Instead of running away in fear, the city turned the explosions into a party. Hotels would host atomic box lunch picnics. Tourists would sit on their hotel balconies with a cocktail, wait for the sun to come up, and watch a massive mushroom cloud rise over the desert.
Yeah, you got the tail now, Tom? Yeah, I got an extra third arm.
Mountains. They even had beauty pageants where the winner was crowned Miss Atomic Bomb, wearing a fluffy white dress that looked like a cloud. It was a bizarre time where the world's most dangerous weapons were seen as entertainment. While bombs were going off in the distance, legends were being made on the stage. This was the era of the Rat Pack. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. became
The
the
Rat
kings of the
Pack.
city. They weren't just
The
singers,
Rat
they were
Pack.
icons of cool. If you were in a Vegas casino in 1955, you might look up and see Frank Sinatra playing cards at the table next to you. It was an era of tuxedos, fancy dresses, and endless parties. But there was a dark side to this glamour. Even though stars like Sammy Davis Jr. were the reason people came to the hotels, because he was black, he often wasn't allowed to stay in the rooms or eat in the restaurants of the hotels where he performed. He often had to stay in separate parts of
Never
town.
escaped.
It took years of pressure and bravery from these performers to finally force the city to end segregation in 1960. By the late 1960s, the mob era was coming to an end. The government was putting pressure on the gangsters, and the city needed a new face. That new face belonged to the
Damn,
most
they said, "Hey, time's up, bro. Wrap it up."
mysterious man in the world, Howard Hughes. Las Vegas is the brightest spot on the entire planet.
Howard Hughes?
Hughes was a billionaire who had spent his life building airplanes and making movies. One night, he moved into the top floor of the Desert Inn Hotel. He stayed there so long that the owners tried to kick him out so they could give the room to a high-rolling gambler. Hughes was so annoyed that he simply called his lawyer and bought the entire hotel. Then he bought another one, and another. Because a famous billionaire was buying up the city, the government finally felt comfortable letting big corporations take over. The guys with the guns
Wait. So the niggas start buying out? Nah. I'm gonna have to fact check this.
were slowly replaced by guys with MBAs and suits. The city started to feel less like a hidden criminal hideout and more like a big professional business. But by the night,
Let me just go back real quick. How?
Hughes was a billionaire who had spent his life building airplanes and making movies.
Mhm.
One night, he moved into the top floor of the Desert Inn Hotel. He stayed there so long that the owners tried to kick him out so they could give the room to
American business management, film producer, investor, aviator, and aerospace engineer who left a lasting mark on aviation engineer. He was a prominent man. Oh, nah. All right, let's not look at that. We trying to look at if he actually bought that shit. It says legitimate as a corporate gambling man. Damn, he did that shit. He did that shit.
another. Because a famous billionaire was buying up the city, the government finally felt comfortable letting big corporations take over. The guys with the guns were slowly replaced by guys with MBAs and suits. The city started to feel less like a hidden criminal hideout and more like a big professional business. But by the 1980s, Vegas had a problem. It was getting boring. Other states were starting to allow gambling, and the old hotels on the Strip were starting to look sad and run down. People were choosing to go to other vacation spots instead. The city needed a spark to bring it back to life. That spark came from a man named Steve Wynn. In 1989, he built a hotel called The Mirage. This changed the rules of the game forever. The Mirage wasn't just a place to sleep and gamble, it was a mega resort. It had a giant man-made volcano out front that erupted every hour with real fire. It had white tigers and a massive aquarium behind the front desk. It cost $630 million to build, which was an insane amount of money at the time. People thought Steve Wynn was going to go bankrupt. Instead, the Mirage became the most successful hotel in history. This started a massive construction war in the 1990s. Every company wanted to build something bigger and crazier than the last one. The skyline changed almost every year. They built the MGM Grand, which was the largest hotel in the world. They built the Luxor, a giant black pyramid with a light at the top so bright that pilots can see it from space. They built the Venetian, where they dug out actual canals.
It was just like an ego war. Like, it was just like an ego war. Like, oh, you built that? I'm gonna build this. Oh, you built this? I'm gonna build that. Like,
You could ride a boat through a shopping mall. They built a version of New York City and a version of Paris. Vegas became a Disney World for adults. They even tried to be a family destination with theme parks and roller coasters, but they quickly realized that adults who want to party were their best customers. That's when they created the most famous advertising slogan of all time: "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." As we entered the 2000s, the city transformed once again. It realized that people weren't just coming to gamble anymore. They were coming for the experience. Today, the most famous chefs in the world all have restaurants on the Strip. The biggest musical stars, like Adele and Usher, don't just visit for a night. They stay for months in what are called residencies. The city became a global center for luxury shopping and massive nightclubs where the world's most famous DJs earn millions of dollars. But the final piece of the puzzle was sports. For 100 years, major sports leagues stayed away because of gambling. But in 2017, the Vegas Golden Knights hockey team was born, and the city went wild. Then, the NFL's Raiders moved into a $2 billion stadium that looks
Yeah.
like a giant black spaceship.
yeah.
Now, Las Vegas is a sports mecca. They host the Super Bowl, and Formula One races right through the streets. And then there is the Sphere, a giant $2.3 billion ball covered in 1.2 million LED lights. It can turn into a giant eyeball, a basketball, or a map of the moon. It is the ultimate symbol of what
That's
Las Vegas has
crazy,
always been. A place that tries to show you something you have never seen before. So, why does this city matter? It matters because Las Vegas is the ultimate story of human imagination. It is a city that shouldn't be there. It is a city built in a desert where the water ran out long ago, and yet it flourishes. It survived the Great Depression, it survived the mob, and it survived the boring years. It went from a muddy spring for thirsty horses to a global capital of technology and entertainment. Las
Like,
Vegas is a place where you can be whoever you want to be for 48 hours. It is a place built on the hope that today might be your lucky day. And even though the house usually wins, the real winner is the city itself. It took the biggest gamble in history, betting that people would travel to the middle of a burning desert just to see some lights and a show. That bet paid off.
burning
Today, the
desert.
meadows that Rafael Rivera found in 1829 are covered in billions of dollars of glass and steel, and the lights of the strip never turn off. Las Vegas is proof that if you build something bright enough and bold enough, the entire world will find its way to your door. Hughes was a billionaire who had spent his life building airplanes.
Wow, that's insane. Like, oh my God, Steve,
Sleep and gamble,
what's
it
his
went back to
name?
life. That spark came from a man.
Steve, man, let's look at. He's 84, forced to step down in 2018. Oh, he completely severed his ties with the New Mexican scout who took part in Antonio Armillo's Spanish Trail expedition from Nuevo Mexico in 1829. Or, sorry, Nuevo Mexico in 1829. Armillo led a trader caravan to Los Angeles, searched for water, and then he found them.
Fremont Street.
This was before. This is what Vegas used to look like, y'all.
Depression, it survived the mob, and it survived the boring years. It went from a muddy spring for thirsty horses to a global capital of technology and entertainment.
That I would watch that. I'd watch a Netflix movie about it. Entertainment capital of the world, basically a nice city. Me being born in Vegas on May 16th. Now Olivia knows that everything there is expensive. It's mind-boggling. It's time for Vegas with the 50s. Yeah. Like what the fucking kids do there? I did a presentation in Las Vegas, and this is fucking true. Imagine all of this in the future, just like a bigger city and shit. Just fuck it up. Or something comes out that they're on some alien shit. Or we expand. I don't know. But, it's like a gun. L7. 7. Billy Wilkerson ran out of money. Founder who bought the land designed the luxury European Miami style concept. Torres Mobster provided mafia funds. Comment down below if y'all went to Circus Circus and what is your best spot to hit and what do you like to do there? Let me know. I like to go and drink. They have a little adult fun zone where there's puzzles and arcades. But yeah, I think that was a pretty good video. Thank you for watching. See you guys later. Peace.